European Mission Fellowship has an outstanding history in evangelism, church planting and training leaders. For over 60 years now, we have raised vital support for great gospel-centred missionaries labouring right across the dark and needy continent of Europe. And we are so thankful to God for friends like you who have enabled us to do so. But now, more than ever, we need your help. These are difficult days. Our finances have been substantially impacted, particularly here in Northern Ireland. And our missionaries really do depend upon the funding that we provide. So the work of the gospel is at stake here. And that is why I am asking you to help us. You can do this in two ways. Firstly, you can support us prayerfully. A growing number of churches are having their meetings via video conferencing. I'd be happy to join in and perhaps even bring one of our missionaries with me. We can update you on the work and encourage you to pray. And if you're not using video conferencing, I can send a recording which you could use in the way that suits you. Secondly, you can support us financially. Every gift we receive enables us to continue supporting those at the front line of gospel endeavour in Europe. Could you give a one-off gift? Or perhaps you might consider taking out a standing order. Please contact me and I can help you to do that. Be assured your support, whether prayerful or practical, individual or corporate, will make a huge difference. Please do whatever you can. Well, keep watching, because here's our brand new video which will tell you more about Europe and EMF.
In the United Kingdom, we are very familiar with Europe. We follow European sports teams, we are immersed in the culture and politics of Europe, and many of our friends and neighbours and work colleagues come from other European countries. One of the things we need to remind ourselves of as Christian people is that Europe consists of over 700 million people, and only 2.5% of those people belong to evangelical churches. And one of the great challenges of our generation is to ensure that the gospel of the Lord Jesus is clearly heard by people in every European nation in ways they can understand and embrace.
Europe is rapidly losing its Christian heritage. In a recent survey, 51% of Europeans identified as Christian, but the vast majority of those are non-practicing. But by far the fastest growing group are those who have no religious belief at all. A survey conducted in 2018 showed that in 12 European countries, more than 50% of young people aged between 16 and 29 identify as non-religious. So in Europe, the competing ideologies and belief systems with evangelical Christianity are Catholicism, Orthodoxy, but increasingly atheism, agnosticism and unbelief.
In 1934, a young man arrived in Riga, the capital city of the small but independent Baltic Republic of Latvia. The 24-year-old James Alexander Stewart was exhausted following his long journey from Glasgow. He knew only the English language, but he had come believing that God had called him to preach the gospel in Eastern Europe. He was greatly used of God and became the catalyst for a revival in Eastern Europe, beginning in his mission work in Latvia, but then going on to Poland, Estonia, Czechoslovakia and into Hungary. In 1959, the UK branch of his work was established and our ministry grew from there. Today the work continues in 15 countries, from Norway in the north to Greece in the south, with 45 missionary couples supported in their evangelism and church planting work.
So, what are the distinguishing characteristics of EMF? We believe there are at least 6. First, EMF is unashamedly committed to Reformed evangelical Christianity. Second, it is through local churches that Jesus Christ promised to build his church. And so our approach is to channel support through local churches spread across Europe. Third, we believe language and culture is understood best by those most familiar with the local people. And so over 80% of our workers are indigenous to the community in which they work. Fourth, with the Lord's help of course, our primary focus is to strengthen and build up churches and encourage church planting. Fifth, rather than draw attention to an organisation, we encourage partnership between supporting churches with those giving and receiving, enjoying mutual fellowship, as seen with the Philippian believers. Sixth, there is no place for short-term thinking in the work of the gospel. And EMF has shown through its history of over 60 years that we aim to provide support for the long term.
Neighbours. We all have neighbours. Sometimes our neighbours are very helpful to us, but on other occasions we have to reach out and help them. As we look across to our European neighbours, we're so thankful for the help that they have given to us over the years. We think back especially to the Reformation of the 16th century, that mighty work of God's Spirit, and how much we profited from and were blessed through it. But just now, our neighbours are needing help. We need to reach out to them, and we can do that through supporting the work of EMF.
Poland needs gospel churches. For the number of evangelicals to reach 1% by 2050, we would need to plant 100 churches of 100 members each year until then. In Siedlce, about 60 miles east of Warsaw, Adam Urban works with EMF. He and his colleague have a vision to plant 20 churches over the next 10 years. In Łuków, 20 miles south of Siedlce, they have been working for just over 6 years. They recently baptized 5 people, the beginnings of a real gospel church. The need is great. The workers are few. Prayer and support are vital.
At EMF, we strongly believe that the work of mission is built on partnership between the missionaries on the front line of gospel work in Europe and the Christians supporting them through prayer, encouragement and giving. The Apostle Paul describes his friends in Philippi as partners in the gospel. And over the years, we've seen such wonderful stories of great mutual blessing brought both to missionaries and supporters through those partnerships. And we would love to see more such partnerships. Please let me encourage you to join us and become partners in the gospel in Europe.